Okay, we are back. I thought I would do a short video in order to help students who are still working on their evaluation assignment and answer some common questions that I've seen from your worksheets. So on your screen, you're going to see Blackboard. Okay, so I've gone into the student view so that way you can see it from your perspective. So one of the things I want to bring to your attention is if you are not familiar with the concepts of this assignment, sorry about that. If you're not familiar with the concepts, what you're going to do is you're going to come in and go to the teaching materials. Now, what you see on this video is how it looks at the moment. However, I am planning on rearranging these things. I'm going to go to the information about evaluating sources. So here we have types of sources information. You can check out this information including the English to Arabic dictionary on that topic if you are having issues with the second question, which what is your type of source on the worksheet. Some students are still showing that they believe that their type of source is an article. And as a reminder, an article cannot be a type of source, but it is a part of a source. So if you're trying to figure out what are types of sources, please review the information here. Now when it comes to evaluating your source, we have some resources here for you. Here you have the worksheet that you're supposed to be completing and turning in today. This link takes you to a little bit more information about what are each of these things that we're using to evaluate. And last but not least, under each topic in Gen 120 is a vocabulary list that is for English to Arabic. So if you click the link, you'll be taken to this vocabulary list, which breaks down, for example, the concept of bias. It describes it as a prejudice or a favoritism, and then it gives you an Arabic equivalency of this word. So that may also be helpful if you are looking at some of the information that's being presented to you and you're not sure what it means. Also, like the concept of bibliography is defined. That was a common question. Peer-reviewed was another question. So this is all here to help you. Okay, something to check out as you're preparing your final assignment. Now, when you're ready to turn in your assignment, you're going to come to Instructor Assessments. And you're going to look for Final Submission Individual Research Assignment. Here I have attached the worksheet along with a rubric about how it's graded. If you submitted a worksheet for feedback, I use the exact same rubric so that way you guys would become familiar with it. Here it has some instructions. One thing to note is please make sure you're submitting your worksheet in ideally a Word format so that way I can modify it if I need to. Even if you are using Pages on a MacBook, you can save as a Word format, and I give you an example of how to do that down here. Okay, so what you're going to do if you've never submitted an assignment on Blackboard is you would click on the assignment name. Here it would tell you the due date and how many points it's worth, and you can also view the rubric here. As you guys are finishing your assignments, please check your assignment against the rubric so you don't miss points accidentally. It's always good to know how it's going to be graded before you submit. Here you can press Browse My Computer, find the file on your laptop, and press Submit. So that's how we submit it. If you have used a source in the library database, it's very important to submit a copy of your source with your worksheet. If your source is easily accessible through a web link, I can use the web link in order to access it, and there's no need to attach it unless you would like to do so. So that's all about submitting it. Now let's actually look at the assignment. So in order to go through that, I'm going to come here and open up the worksheet. Okay, this we have been using in class for the last week. Let's walk through the parts together. So the first thing you should list is the link for your source. Most of your sources are online, and so please just paste the link here so I can click on it and immediately go and read your article. In order to grade this assignment, I do read everyone's article, and I make sure that you've evaluated the correct information and done the correct citation. This assignment takes a while to grade. What is the type of source? I'm asking, is it a book? Is it a newspaper? Is it a website? What is the actual category of source? We've discussed this twice in class. Please do not put article here, because that will result in points being lost for following directions. So in the summary, you should be giving a brief synopsis of all the material that can be found in your article or source. So this should include some key facts or statistics that are important that you plan on using. And I should be able to essentially see an outline of the article. When we get to relevance, I want you to start off by stating what is your research question. For a lot of students, this is a point that they're missing that they should restate. My research question is this, and this is why it's useful. I want you to pull specific examples of the information that you're going to use. Please do not just say relevant information. Start thinking about how you're going to use this information. What part of your presentation is it going to be useful for? And then when you talk about reviewing other sources, what other sources did you review? All the guidance I'm giving you right now is what I would expect to see in an A-level assignment. And when it comes to currency, we have the two concepts of currency, right? When was it published, and is it up to date? So when was it published is usually an easy thing to answer, unless it is no date. When it comes to being up to date and how do you know, you need to reference other sources that are newer and compare the information. Is it the same or is it different? If you're just saying it's up to date because it was published in the last year, we know, and we talked about this in class, we know that just because something was published yesterday does not make it up to date. Often, especially depending on the topic, it makes it out of date. Okay, and then reflect on if it matters for your topic, if something is out of date. Now, when it comes to authority, you really have to go into the background research on your author. So I expect to see who is the author, what are their degrees in, where have they worked, what have they published, do they give you citations? The big question was about this bibliography or in-text references. Do they give you their citations or tell you who they interviewed to get that information? Has the source been through the publishing process? How do you know? This is where you need to reflect on the type of source and maybe investigate whoever your source is. Do they actually publish their information? Meaning, is it checked before it's put out to the general public? How do you know this? This might be information you find on their website. It might be you reflect on the type of source that they are, and that's how that type works. So like newspapers or magazines. We know that newspapers and magazines, their whole concept is they have writers submit stories, there's an editor that checks them, and we move on. Okay, then we get to bias. So a lot of people are doing really well with bias in identifying if information is fact versus opinion, and how they kind of made that decision. Is the source one-sided? Means does it present one side of the argument? So does the source say X, Y, Z, fast food is bad, playing games is bad, or does it give you fast food is helpful for people on in a rush, but it's not healthy? That would be dual-sided. One-sided would just be saying fast food is bad. Fast food has a place in our society for sure. And so we need to recognize when our sources are trying to convince us that something is good or bad, and recognizing that that is bias. Another thing we can talk about with bias is we can remark on if the source has lots of ads. So some of your sources I've seen have ads all around the information. And so that's kind of highlights the fact that their funding comes from those ads. That's how they make their money. And that is concerning. So that's something you should look at and think about. What type of ads are those? Are they affecting the content? Is the content too dramatic? Can also come up in bias. And then with your citations, when you're doing your citations, this is the process that you need to do. So the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out what type of source do you have. Okay, the first box here is for you to pull the format of the citation and just copy paste it into your worksheet. So in order to do that, let's say I'm doing a newspaper article. Okay, so I'm going to come back to Blackboard. I'm going to go to Teaching Materials. Okay, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to the folder for the APA information. Once I come into that folder, I'm going to go to Full Text Citations, because that's what I need to write. Okay, and I said a newspaper. So I'm going to look at this guide on how to do citations. See, articles, newspaper articles. Here we go. So I have two types, print or online. Okay, I'm using an online one. And then it gives me a general format. This is what I want to copy paste. But then it also shows me if I had an author or not an author, and gives me two examples. Let's say I have an author. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so I'm going to copy that area. I'll come back to my worksheet and I'll add it in. Now, one of the biggest things it did not do is it did not make the title in italics. And we know the main title of the newspaper or the source is always in italics. Okay, so now I would take my article and I would create the citation. So I'm just going to create a random one. Okay, so let's say it was from 2009, May 1st, okay, period. Title of the article, I hate citations. Subtitle, APA is weird. Okay. Then I need to put in the title of the newspaper. And let's say this was the Detroit Daily. Okay, and period. I'm going to take off the italics. And then I'll say retrieved from, and then I would have to put the website. And because it's a newspaper, I stop at the .com or the .ae. Okay? The last thing I would need to do would be to install the hanging indent. And so in order to do that, I'm going to come in. And you see up here, there's this ruler bar. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab this triangle that's on the bottom. And I'm going to pull it in 1/2 inch. So that's how you install a hanging indent. Okay, so now I've done that one, I need to do my in-text citation. So in-text citation is as simple as Sharp 2009. Okay, and with those items done, go ahead and take off the underline because you don't need it. With those items done, I've completed my citations in just a few minutes. So doing your citations is great practice. There are tools online you can use to do citations. However, you need to know that those tools sometimes give you incorrect citations, which will affect your grade. So you need to at least check them. Okay, so that was a quick guide on how to do the assignment and things to be thoughtful of.